Hey there, folks. Thanks for joining me for episode 12 of the HipHopHumboldt podcast. This is your boy David, and we have a special episode this time. I'm going to be bringing you my interview with Brian Swizlo. A lot of you know him, great keyboardist, producer, has put on a lot of acts and put out a lot of music over the years in Humboldt County and really laid it down for Humboldt County. And so I'm really pleased to have had him and had his time for this podcast. First up, let's get into some events that are coming up. I actually wanted to make sure I give a shout out to Chemistry, Flo J, and Highway for killing that Afroman concert. I'm really looking forward to the event tonight. I'm actually going to miss it because I'm out of town, but I want to make sure everybody else goes down to the Stone Junction Bar in Garberville tonight because there's something really special that these guys have cooked up for you. I'm talking about Object Heavy, the Oh So Heavy mixtape featuring Nac One and Flo J. This is a real special show, and you know, if you're into hip hop, you need to go and check it out. Next up, we've got Eli Fowler playing at the Mickey Avalon show this Sunday at the ATL. And so that's going to be another good show at the Arcada Theater Lounge. If you haven't gotten your tickets already, I hope you have. Because you might not be able to. You might not be able to get in there at this point. So shout out to all the people that buy early. When you see a hip hop act performing in Humboldt County, especially somebody like the legend Eli Fowler, who has been making music around here for over 20 years, holding hip hop down, holding the culture down, you need to get tickets immediately. You don't want to wait. Now, let me loop back real quick to another hip-hop legend in Humboldt County, and I'm talking about Nac One, because Nac One has some important stuff, has some real cool stuff cooking for y'all, and you need to keep your eyes peeled, because March 1st, Nac is dropping the King Epic EP, and I can't wait for that one. Shout out to Nac One. Follow Nac One on all the socials. He's on Instagram, Facebook. Follow all of his pages and stay apprised of what Nac One and the Fantastik Family are doing. Speaking of Fantastik Family, we just had Nac One and an exclusive drop the track with Flo J called Battery Acid. That track was some fire. Shout out to Exclusive on that beat. That was fire. And you need to check that out and add it to your playlist. You can add it to your playlist on Spotify. Man, shout out to Nac One, Flo J, and Exclusive for bringing us that fire, making sure that Humboldt County hip hop is really getting off to a crazy start in 2022. Now, next up, I wanted to make sure y'all listen to that new track from Maniac the Rapper. I'm talking about Slippin. You can find that on all your digital streaming platforms, and you want to make sure you follow Maniac the Rapper on Instagram. That's at It's Maniac, baby. They've been dropping fire. And don't forget about the show that Maniac the Rapper is doing on April 23rd at that Roll Through and Roll Up tour with Travie Bands. I'm looking forward to all that. I'm looking forward to the next thing that Maniac the Rapper drops. Shout out to Maniac the Rapper. Now, I wanted to give a shout out to another hip hop legend in Humboldt County, and I'm talking about none other than DJ Just One. Just One is dropping some real high quality content for this county, and I need you to make sure that you follow Just One on Instagram right now. That's at Just One NYCA. And also you need to follow East Branch Media. That's the production company, and you need to keep up on that because there's going to be some real fire dropping in 2022. Just wait. Now, I want you to go right now and follow Deva Lily Official on Instagram and also subscribe to her YouTube channel. She is crossing multiple genres with her music. It's all fire. And I really like the skill that she's displaying on multiple fronts. And I'm talking about the music and the apparel. Check out her producer grind gear and cop one of those shirts right now. Shout out to Deva Lily. Now I need you to go right now and listen to the new album from Nine Theory that just dropped today. It's called Comfort in the Orange Glow, and it's some fire. It's that kind of thing in Humboldt County where I love the fact that such great art and music is coming out of this area. It's a real blessing, and Nine Theory is a real blessing for this county. Check him out on Instagram. Follow him right now at Nine Theory, and check out all of his music on Spotify. You can go check it out. He's doing some big things. Shout out to Nine Theory. And speaking of Nine Theory, we've got that new Cryptoon Goonz track produced by Nine Theory with Zigzilla on the track. I'm talking about Zigmanzilla on Instagram. That's Zach Lerner, one of the dopest MCs in Humboldt County. And this track, I mean, it's crazy. They did this track for an NFT, and it's the you know, the motto, the jingle for the NFT. You know, I mean, it's crazy what these dudes are doing. I got a lot of respect for Zach on this track, because I mean, who else is doing something sounding so dope? He's killing it. Shout out to the Lerner brothers right now. They're killing it. I'm really pleased to be able to let you even just know about dope hip hop like that in Humboldt County. And make sure you add that Cryptoon Goonz track to your playlist. Add Battery Acid to your playlist. Add Maniac's Slippin to your playlist. And go check out that Nine Theory album today. For the last one, I wanted to give a quick shout out to a young up and comer. He's a dope young MC called The True Astro. Go follow him on Instagram right now. He's about to drop a track called Wicked. You can see a sneak preview of the video on my Instagram reel feed right now at HipHopHumboldt. But don't forget, follow. I need you to follow The True Astro on Instagram and keep an eye out for what he's doing. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into the Brian Swizlo interview that I was blessed enough to be able to record. Shout out to Swizlo, shout out to Object Heavy, and shout out to you, the listeners, for subscribing to this podcast, for staying up on what we're doing. I really appreciate the audience members that are liking my posts on Instagram and sharing those posts in their stories, because that helps it get out there, right? We're all about moving up Humboldt hip hop in the algorithm. Do you understand me? That's what we're trying to do. I'm not making any money on this podcast. We're here to support artists and the culture in Humboldt County. And I need to make sure you understand that. And I need to make sure you also understand that this podcast exists to support the culture that the legends like Eli Fowler, like Brian Swizlo, like Nac One, like Sonny Wong and the Dirty Rats, like those folks have created. This podcast is here to lay down the framework of what has already happened. So when people come here and want to know, they can come and listen to the podcast and find out how hip hop has moved forward in Humboldt County in the last 20 years. And honestly, Brian Swizlo is a big, important part of the people that have been responsible for making that happen. So shout out to Brian. And yeah, thanks a lot for listening. I'm going to end with this interview, and stay tuned for the next episode 13. We're going to have more legends on. I'm talking about we're going to get Nac One on this podcast. We're having all kinds of other legends have already talked about they're going to come on. So just stay tuned. What's good, y'all? This is HipHopHumboldt. It's your boy David. I'm joined right now by the legend, Humboldt legend, Brian Swizlo. You already know about Swizlo if you know anything about HipHopHumboldt in the last 20 plus years. He's been doing it around here. He's laid the foundation for hip hop in Humboldt County, and I'm just really pleased to have his time right now to sit and speak with him. Hey Brian, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How's it going, David?
Good. Now, everybody knows him by Swizz, so I'm going to call him Swizz for the rest of this podcast is what you're going to hear. Swizz, man, like I said, I got a lot of respect for what you've built in this county for so long. Dude, it's unbelievable the amount of artists. And that's just one of the things, the amount of artists that you've put on. You know what I mean? Like, you really helped a lot of people in this community take their art and take it to the next level. And that's something I got a lot of respect for, man.
Thank you. That's cool. I dig it. I mean, first out of the gate when I first moved here, as I was part of the band Spank, and so I have very little to do with putting anyone on, at the beginning, and it was definitely based on. I was just playing keyboards with this cool funk band, and I'll fast forward. What led to the hip hop was a couple of his MCs. Adam Brandt, right, the Jewish cowboy. He started the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings. Was working with Dom and a guy named Rasan. Now, not to be mistaken for Rashawn Ahmad, a different guy. Jeff Camp, Trench Camp, a few other people, and he knew the guys from what was about to become Potluck and Absolute on End. And so he knew all these MCs, but he was like, you're a live band, and these MCs are dope. And then furthermore went to say, hey, there's this Garth Vader and Tucson, and this is the future of Humboldt hip-hop. This is what Humboldt hip-hop is, because we're representing Medical 215 legit. What that is Proposition 215 of 1996, and they were always being like, yo, Medical 215 legit. So 215 legit was the message of the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings. So it's kind of interesting how no one's really happy about that anymore. But back in the day, in 1999, to talk about legalization, most people in the world wanted that to happen, but people out here were like, hell no, because this is where the black market, the epicenter was, So.
Yeah, it's an industry town, you know what I mean? And I think that it's only reasonable for people to be wary of change, especially considering, as we've seen, the way certain changes have gone. So I think that worry was pretty reasonably founded, and I'm glad you brought that up too.
Yeah, it's a trip when I think about, like, wow, there's something that we started in 1998, 99. To look at it now, if we were to just fast forward this whole conversation to where we're at today, it's like, oh man. But I support it all the way, because it's just, that's where we're at. There's no turning back, and there's only one way to save the community, is to be down with what's happening and find a way to navigate through it. Right.
And I think that if the county can make the right decisions, we can see a lot of people prosper and really have this county be a niche corner of cannabis in this entire country, that people continue to know for what special things are happening in Humboldt County, because there's a lot of things happening. It's, like the hip hop that we're talking about right now, that's that niche element of Humboldt County. There's a lot of different art that happens in Humboldt. And I think that cannabis is just one method that will draw people into the art that's around here and let them find other art that's out there.
you know?
I would agree. You know, I think about the OGs that I came up with here. You know, Garth Vader, Mr. Garth Cultivator, underrated from Potluck. These guys, they're not repping legal weed. You know what I mean? They're sticking to their guns and they're speaking their truth. And you know, people are going to do what they're going to do. There's a lot of folks here who are not interested in legal weed, and there are folks that are going to adhere to what's happening for, like what I said, to navigate through and to be relevant. You know, if you want to have a legitimate business, then that's kind of what you have to do if you want to rock your thing. I mean, I respect all that, so I'm cool with all of that. I've just chosen to get down with what's happening. I know they're not even there yet, but yeah. Thinking about it, it's hard not to think about it when we talk about this.
Exactly.
Man.
You know,
It's
that's
like,
right. We're
wow.
talking about the evolution
What's going on
of the
right now?
culture in the community, you know what I mean? And I think it revolves around two elements, cannabis and hip hop, you know? And so you've really been at the epicenter of definitely hip hop. I don't want to say like cannabis, because that's a really wide spread of a lot of different people in the community. So I got to give respect to everybody. But you've still, you know, between the music that you've created and then now the Fat Bowl brand and everything that it's meant to Humboldt County, like you've been an integral part to the culture, you know. And so again, Swizz, I just really appreciate what you've been able to do to move the culture forward even today, you know. So you were talking about Spank, and then I was also remembering that earlier when we were talking about some of these conversations leading up to the podcast, you were telling me about subliminal sabotage, right, and you know,
the
that
second
was
generation,
exactly,
but still OGs, you know, because those kids, Eli Fowler, who was Little Kid Lost. Before that was Elysian. Eli, everyone called him Eli, but Eli's the MC, you know what I mean? So he's like, I can't really be named Eli. So, but Eli Fowler, Mika's son, MC Problematic, Paul Manners, and Galen Davis, who is G-Bob, G Davis, dope DJ, amazing producer. Those guys were subliminal sabotage. Those four people, they grew up in Humboldt. From Redway to Covelo, which is, you know, Mendocino, and Shelter Cove. And Eli and Mika from the Redway area, and these guys were born and raised in Humboldt, and Subliminal Sabotage was their name long before I ever knew who they were, you know what I mean? And so when Just One and I, DJ Just One and myself, and Galen were all part of the Freestyle Kings. So when I moved back to Humboldt, you know, fast forwarding those few years in LA and whatever not, you know, Justin and I were like, hey, the live band, the whole thing, let's do what we did with the Freestyle Kings, but with these guys, so Subliminal Sabotage. So, yeah, to all respects to Southern Humboldt, those kids, that's where they started it. They brought me into the loop. They brought Justin into the loop, and they trusted me to put the band together. And, you know, yeah.
And you laid that groundwork. I mean, Subliminal Sabotage was doing music for quite a while. I think you gave me one of their CDs, unless I'm wrong.
I gave you, I definitely gave you some of Eli's stuff.
Yeah.
I gave you Mika's son.
Mm-hmm.
I gave you MC Problematic.
Yeah.
And I gave you Son versus Son, which is Tucson, which I mentioned before. Garth, Vader, and Tucson were like the original, that was with the Freestyle Kings. Mm-hmm. And Tucson, Jubal, his family was instrumental and an integral part of us recording the record, the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings album that we did, and had the band go out to Reno, and it was like a Tahoe Humboldt kind of band, because Just One and Jubal met in Tahoe. You know, I meet Adam Garth out here, and Adam's like, yo, and Jubal's brother and their friends, when I mentioned Redwood Roots, I mentioned Ridgeline Farms, they're all their friends were like, hey, the older brother of Jubal wanted to help out. Next thing you know, the Southern Humboldt, you know, was providing the fuel, you know, and we were providing the vehicle, you know. The weed was the fuel, the vehicle was the music, is the message.
That's right. That's right.
So that all ties together. The Freestyle Kings and Subsab, it's all one thing. Those guys are all family, and I'm grateful to just have been welcomed into such a tight-knit scene at the epicenter of the best weed on the planet.
Man, that's
Straight
crazy.
up.
Heck yeah. No, man, that's crazy, man.
Give it up for the legacy farmers who are all losing their shit right now. So if you want to support, we were talking about dispensaries, support the legacy farmers of Humboldt, whether it's from Trinity, you know, some of the kids on the 36 or Southern Humboldt, these legacy farmers, and I'll even talk about the Mendocino folks and anyone who's in these areas who are all losing their shit to these big companies. These big companies are not growing the good shit. You know, some may, you know, I'm sure they hired a few people from here, and they could, you know, and good for those folks who could make money being a grower. Like that, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. But to preserve the history of this place, as we're talking about musically, and when it comes to the cannabis, these legacy farmers, I mean, they're the ones who've been here the whole time. They're the ones who should be teaching everyone in the world how to grow.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly exactly the kind of energy that really needs to be coming with, you know, these changes that are coming to the university, right? And they're supposed to be adding a lot of new majors and things. I really hope that they, honestly, to not use the word capitalize, but capitalize on the economic resources of people that we have that are knowledgeable and have the skills around here, because that is a resource for this county that is underestimated.
Yep. And as now it's Polytech, and as things are changing, you know, for me, who's been here for a long time, I don't want to see some of these cats like we're the old guys, you know, from an ego standpoint. You know, nobody wants to get old and be forgotten, right? At the end of the day, though, like, people rewrite history books however they want. You know what I mean? And so to know the real chronological order and the real history and what's really going on and what happened long before this Polytech was even a thing, before Humboldt State University, there was Humboldt State College, and there was, you know, this goes back. So it's really important for people who are new to this scene to know what did happen 20 years ago. Like, Fat Bowl isn't just something that just popped up. I've given my whole life, I've lost all kinds of stuff and people and things and other things for Fat Bowl, because I wanted the legacy to be there. I want people to know that Fat Bowl, this was all based on musicians and artists supporting musicians and artists. And for me, I grow some weed, but I'm not the dude. I'm not the guy. When I'm handing you a joint to smoke, it's because my fucking boys and girls, they don't fuck around in the garden, and they are like, Swizz, you're out there repping. Here's an ounce, you know, go rep. You know, oh, DJ Logic's coming to town. Here's some New York style shit. Here's some Diesel. Hook him up with that. You know, we wanted people to know where the best of the best was coming from. And when I'd be on tour, I'd be wherever I was. And I'm proud to say, as someone who's usually never my weed, and I always had the best weed in the room. And that tells me something. I've been all over the country with my music, and everyone's like, oh, you're from Humboldt? Oh, cool. Well, you know, this is what I got. You know, when people are like, when you go to LA or you go anywhere and you're like, oh, you're from Humboldt? I'm going to check out my weed. When you coming from Humboldt, people want you to see what they're doing. And then like, oh yeah, that's nice. And then I don't even pull my shit out. And then you blaze up some Humboldt weed, and every single person who tried to show you some shit is like, ooh, what's that? Mm-hmm. Oh, that nose, you cannot mistake that. So that's right. You know, that's the shout out goes all the way to that.
That's right. And that goes back to, like you said, the farmers. And I just really love us getting on this podcast and really archiving the legacy of the fact that the culture is cannabis and music, hip hop specifically, like they're intertwined. They really are.
Oh, I mean, yes. Yeah, I find myself interjected a bunch.
No, you're good. You know what's going on. You got the history.
No, I mean, anybody who's putting on shows, anybody who's promoting shows, they're all the people growing a lot of the best weed, or are, you know, and now they're all legal farms. You know, some of the promoters own dispensaries. Some have legal farms. They're all in it, and they've been in it for a long time. So there's a huge shout that me and any of the musicians I've played with, DJs, rappers, visual artists alike, anyone who's put us on, yeah, I'll bow down to the weed, and not because I'm a weed head. It's because this plant has provided a musical career for me and everyone I rock with, and has given me a platform along with my friends, whether they chose to, ask me to or not. That's me. I'm self-proclaiming. I'm saying this myself. This is my version of the truth, right? Everyone's got their version of how it went down. My version is that these dudes just kept giving us weed and putting us on shows and having us opening. Thankfully, my band and the groups I've played with always had a fan base. You know, I'm a big fan of people getting put on a show who already have fans. I think that's the most important thing from a musical standpoint. Is like when an artist comes through, if Snoop Dogg comes through, let's just use the biggest name, right? Especially this week because the Snooper Bowl just happened.
Right.
So, if he comes through, like, who do you want opening up the show? Some dude that's friends with someone that has no fans, and it's like, because I'm going to put you on. Like, all right, but that's cool and all, but wouldn't you rather Snoop leave going, yo, man, Humboldt's got some amazing musicians. Wow, man, Humboldt,
right.
Wow. So when an opener is someone who's already got a fan base and has something going on, I think that's crucial to the show, because you want the artists coming here and you want them leaving saying, not only was the weed the best, not only did they treat me right, not only did I not have to fight for my money, but those dudes that opened up are dope. And then they're going to go wherever they go and they're going to remember the experience. And anytime they smoke some good weed, it's like that thing. It's that muscle memory. Mm-hmm. So I have always pushed anyone on a show, and it sucks because I'm often in the band that would be opening, so it sounds really selfish. But I speak from the standpoint of an ambassador to people like Nac One, Highway, Flo J, any of these MCs. I mean, it goes all the way back to, like I said, Potluck, and before Potluck was Manifest, and there were other things going on. They were before my time. There was a lot going on here already. So, my stake to it is really just realizing how can we make sure that the people who have fans are the ones opening for the bands, so those bands can blow up, so they can get on a world stage and maybe put other people on.
That's right.
But coming out of my mouth sounds really arrogant and selfish in a lot of ways, because I'm a keyboardist and a producer, and that I believe my band should be opening, and I always want the gig. So it's difficult for me to talk about it, but I'm doing it. I'm telling you how I feel, since we're really going for it.
No, I love it, Swizz.
So I speak for those people. I speak for, when you think about underrated, he grew up here. I think he was born here, but he grew up here. His dad lives here. You know what I mean? I think about Eli Fowler. He was born here. You know what I mean? Garth, his family's been here. Jubal, Tucson, Mika's son. Anyone, whoever I'm missing. You know what I mean? Highway. These are Humboldt people. I'm from Chicago. I moved here in '97. I met these people along the way. But as I've met the younger crowd, the younger cats who were coming up, I'd already been 5-7 years deep into it. And left and came back. To meet Highway and Nac One, and guys that I'm super tight with now, Flo J, you know what I mean, so it's an interesting path.
Yeah, man. No, it's great to hear it, man. I just love that, like you're saying, Eli Fowler's still around, still making music, still representing for the county. Like these people that have been representing are still here holding it down, because I think that's one of the classic things that, with Humboldt County having been known for the university, a lot of students come and then leave after they get their degree or whatever and take their talent elsewhere. But there's the people that have been here that have a lot of skills that are still around. And I'm talking skills on so many different levels, whether it's hip hop, whether it's cannabis, whether it's forestry, all the different things that still happen in Humboldt County. You know what I mean? There's a lot of skilled people around here. I think that with what's happening now in the county with the university, it's only going to bring more people in, and they're going to be exposed to the art that has been going on around here, like Subliminal Sabotage, like Fantastik Fam, like the Dirty Rats. You know what I mean? Yeah. We were talking about Fantastik Fam and the Dirty Rats, and just the wide breadth of what they've been doing for a long time, holding it down.
Just them alone, just Nac One and his kids. I mean, it's a real family, a blood family, right?
That's right.
You got family here, and then you have Dirty Rats, who might as well be, and I think they are actually blood on some of them are. You know what I mean? Like those two groups of people right there, like you said, the wide, the spectrum they cover. And you think about Sonny Wong and all he's done artistically. He has embedded himself and has created a legacy for him and everything that will come after, based on his skills and his artwork and how he's infiltrated them through the marketing and getting into mainstream Humboldt stores and things like that, which I admire as a owner of Fat Bowl, you know, because I feel like branding is where it's at, you know what I mean? So kind of, you know, I think about the Dirty Rats and those guys. I mean, those Kush and Callus and man, I know I'm just, all of them.
Yeah.
Forgive me, whoever I'm missing. But you know, in GMG, their producer, like
Damien,
they're all super legit, and they keep pumping out music. And you know what? And Franco, although he's doing his own thing now, I mean, he made real waves for Humboldt. He's won freestyle. He's on video and shit, crushing people. You know what I mean? Video that you can buy, DVDs you could buy. There's you know battles that he's part of that Franco just fucking laced people, and you know what I mean?
See, that's what's up.
You know, this I think about that, and I think about Chris Durant, who started Savage Henry, and he was part of a group called Republican Dunk Hunters. You know, in my mind back then, I was like, who? Ah, cool. We were all just doing our own thing. I think, you know, it was fun. Oh, another rapper. Oh shit, you want? I can play. I make beats. I play keyboards. Let's rock. I was always pretty cool with everyone. You know, I tried to be anyway. And but yeah, you think about this, where we're at now, and how hip hop has, and how the message has infiltrated and has become as a foundation of the community. You know, Sonny Wong's art is everywhere. You know, Chris Durant, Savage Henry, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? You think about Underrated from Potluck. He's everywhere. You know, you think about who else, you know? I know I'm missing people. Highway, he's working with Tech Nine. He's everywhere. He's doing it, you know? Got guys like, man, I'm missing a bunch. So when I think about myself, you know, yeah, it's exciting to know that we're building something here, you know, and with Object Heavy is now working with a record label, and we're, you know, I'm putting out videos and singles, and it's like we're doing industry style business with our music, and our music is the message. So, you know, when we get down to it, when we get that message out there, people start looking at Humboldt. So when the people in Humboldt are like, whatever with any of those people, I mean, I don't know, do whatever you want with that, but we're definitely bringing business to the county. We're bringing people here to stay in the hotels, buy the food, go to the store, rep the brands, buy the fucking weed. Like, you know, it's all about tourism. You know, people are like, oh, man, don't come here. It's like, no, come here and then leave if that's how you feel. If you want to stay small in your small town, cool. But get people coming here if you want, if you don't want to lose all your business. Because the Polytech and the kids who are coming to the Polytech and their parents who own the cannabis companies that didn't grow up here, that are now running shit or whatever's happening, and it's messing with a program that the locals would see. I mean, how do we go through that? So we take our branding, and you look at the foundation of Humboldt hip hop, and you think about all those cats I mentioned. Outside of me, I'm just a very small, even it's funny, like I'm the common denominator in ways. It's like, you know, and I don't work with everyone, and not everyone wants to work with me. But, and I'm cool with that. I've never, you know, I've always wanted to work with more people than I think, that a few people didn't want to work with me. But usually once we get in a room, they're like, oh, wait, you're not that arrogant. You're actually a nice guy. So
once they hear you on the keys, bro, I mean, hey.
No, that's cool too. I appreciate that. But yeah, the foundation of hip hop is infiltrated what'll be the legacy of Humboldt. So when people come here, like to go back to that same point of like Polytech and people moving here, and they're like, yo, I live in Humboldt now, and I started a Humboldt brand like 2 years ago. It's like, all right, man, do you know where you're coming from? Just do your homework first before you go shouting from the rooftops. You know what I mean? We all have that experience. You and I talked about how you felt about calling yourself a hip hop Humboldt.
That's
You've
right.
been here for a long time. You know the scene. You have every right to do that shit. Of course you do. You know what I mean? But you're like, shit. And I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, I didn't grow up here, man, because I was treated by locals like, hey, you didn't grow up here. Like, yeah, got you, man. And that's why Fat Bowl isn't a Humboldt brand. It is. But I didn't put the word Humboldt in there because I learned very quickly from my hip hop compadres and my Humboldt homies that, you know, Humboldt's, you know, if you're gonna rep Humboldt, dig in.
That's right.
Dig in.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I kind of felt, is that, you know, even just having a name like Hip Hop Humboldt for the branding on Instagram, like people are going to find hip hop from Humboldt County by searching that, and to not be collaborating and using the brand to promote artists and promote hip hop in Humboldt County is doing everybody a disservice. So I had to really just honestly make sure that I'm showing respect to, and that's why I'm glad that I could get you on this podcast, Wiz. I'm really glad, because I wanted to make sure that I'm giving respect to the foundation of hip hop in Humboldt County, and that's really you and a lot of other people, and I'm super respectful that I could have you as the first interview on this podcast, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. It's funny because when I saw your name pop up, of course, the first thing I'm like, who's this dude? Just naturally, anybody, and not that I have claim or ownership to any. Like I said, it's like we get to be human, and we get to make choices that are good for our lives, whatever they are. And the lessons come with it, and the good shit and the bad shit, it all comes with it, right? So it's just kind of funny. And I was like, Hip Hop Humboldt. And then I see the Nac One. I'm like, Nac, that's my guy right there. I'm like, what's up with Hip Hop Humboldt? Oh, David, he's dope, man. You should go talk to him. I'm like, hey, should I hit him up? And for me, I was approaching you hesitantly out of respect because I was like, hey, can I be on your show? I'm just like, I would love to tell you my version of what happened. You know what I mean? And then what your response was like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? So the fact that, you know what I mean, you already knew who I was, and I still get surprised by that. And maybe I shouldn't. Everyone around me is like, stop acting modest. I'm like, we all have modest days, but I was genuinely like, oh shit. And I showed my girl, I was like, look what this dude wrote back to me. I almost teared up. You know what I mean? Like, that's like when someone says something about me like that, it's very hard to swallow, despite what some would think. You know what I mean? It's not easy to have social anxiety and then go stand in front of the world and be like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I don't back down. I do speak loudly. I own it. I know it. I'm transparent as much as I can be. And so when someone comes to me and says something like that, I'm like, holy shit. All right, maybe we're doing something here, and what happens if we can get on the world stage? I'm going to be flashing these searchlights going, hey, Humboldt's over here. All the money's going away because all the weed's going to shit. But if you want to get down with the connoisseur stuff and you want to help this place survive, give me a shout because I'll help you. I'll lead you to the promised land of Humboldt. Like, that's my version of what I want to do by my choice, on my own, to see what I can maybe do for this community. I don't have my own children. This is it. This is my shit. You know what I mean? This is my legacy. I love it here. I love my family in Chicago and Texas and Michigan and and Arizona and Seattle, and California. I've got family out there, but I love this place, and I didn't know anyone here, and I don't have any blood relatives here, and I don't own land, and I'm like, that's not. I'm in it for the long game, man. And so it was really so for you to approach me the way you did after I was trying to be all flexing in this nicest way, and I'm not really passive aggressive. So it was like, oh man, how do I approach this dude who's using the Hip Hop Humboldt name? Like, I'm excited to find out, and then was more excited to find out that you're like, oh, I've been here since like 2004, and I'm like, oh. Well, there you go. You know what I mean? Like, boom, stoked. I'm like, I was fired up to know that you weren't some dude who just moved here last year, took the name Hip Hop Humboldt and said, hey, I'm doing this shit. Not to say that wouldn't be successful. Not to say somebody wouldn't do the right thing if they were going to use the name Humboldt.
But I'm glad that you honestly reach out to people when you do see them trying to represent Humboldt in a certain way, because you have, like I said, you have laid a foundation for the culture in this community, whether it's on a musical level and otherwise, you know what I mean? Because Fat Bowl is inspiring to entrepreneurs around here, that people that wanted to take certain skills that they had and like they can see what Fat Bowl's done. You know what I mean? And so I got a lot of respect for the foundation that you've laid, and it's only right for somebody to, even if you do come to this county, there's going to, like we're talking about, there's going to be a large influx of people into the school and everything like that. Well, if you're going to learn about cannabis and the history of cannabis in Humboldt County in the last 20 years, it's also going to include hip hop. It's also going to include that, you know. Come into this county in the future and you want to learn about cannabis, you want to learn about hip hop, you need to know about what Brian Swizlo has done for the community and for the culture. I'm telling you. And so, you know, from there, it's, you know, just so much that you can learn about that we've just touched on in this episode. And there's going to be, I'm really trying to get Swizz on for another episode. I'm going to have Nac on. We're going to talk about Nac and the Fantastik Fam. I'm trying to get Sonny on. I'm going to try to get the Dirty Rats on for sure. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I want all these artists that are, anybody, Eli, anybody who wants to come and find out. Check out the Hip Hop Humboldt podcast. There's a podcast where you can look at the whole legacy of hip hop in Humboldt County and know what has been happening. So you're not just coming in, like you said, because, you know, hip hop is a thing where you got to give respect to the legends. You know, I'm blessed to be able to have you on as the first interview, the first legend in in Hip Hop Humboldt legacy. You know what I mean? It's a real blessing for me.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, all I could think about while you were just saying this now, though, was about the Super Bowl. You know, I'm watching the social media, and I just responded on someone's today. It's like, oh man, they're lip syncing. It's like, cool. These artists are internationally known. Most of them came from nothing, have conquered the world stage, and are actually definitely giving money, energy, and time to good things. And they may be doing other things, but still. You know what I mean? When you think about all these cats, it's like, hey, man, sure, are they lip syncing? First of all, their mics are probably live, A. B, they're probably actually rapping because they love that shit. C, I don't know if I said 2 or B, but whatever. We're on to C now. And C, are they singing over their tracks? Probably. Why? In my opinion, in my fairly educated opinion, it's because the masses, they want to hear you sing live like you did exactly on the record, because nobody's listening to your live shows. They're only listening to the record. Mm-hmm. So when you go and play the Super Bowl, yeah, your track's probably going to be playing because that's what everybody knows. And if you want to sell more records, you're just going to have to do that. It doesn't mean that Snoop or Eminem don't want to rap or act like it's easier. Oh, fuck that. Maybe some of them do because they want to save their voice. But I'm guessing that Dre was fucking happy as fucking he's been in a long time, because he like actually walked out on stage and had a mic in his hand and was like, yeah.
That's right. And a
like,
stadium
there's
like that.
something beautiful about that. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you have to respect the conglomerate, man.
That's right. I love that, bro.
The words of Old Busta.
That's right.
You gotta respect that shit, because they did something. And those guys have hired musicians to play those parts. Mm-hmm. Whether it's dudes from the band Lettuce or Mike Elizondo and these jazz cats that play in Hollywood at the Baked Potato, like you look deeply into their tracks. I mean, these guys are working with, you know, these guys like are playing with musicians. Like that's what we do. We make beats and we put ourselves out there. So, you know,
that's right.
Like respecting that is a good thing. The word respect is such a tough one for me. It's like I don't try to demand respect, or like, you know, I'm not just gonna respect you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I would say that just because you're sitting in front of me, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I'm not just gonna respect a person. You know, I mean, yeah, I'll give human respect. I'm not gonna be an asshole or a bully, you know, but you know, respect comes with doing it, walking.
That's right. That's right. Walking the path and
walking the path.
That's right.
You know, yeah, Humboldt hip hop is going strong, and it's like one of those things. You're like Eli Fowler. It's like, yeah, he's just getting started. It's almost funny how we're all just really getting started. Like my band, I've been in a lot of bands. This group that I'm in right now is popping right now. Object Heavy is we're getting some love regionally. We are well known in Oregon and parts of Washington, and like it's like holy shit. This thing in Chicago, you know what I mean? And we're being flown to Oklahoma to do a weed event, you know, like that means something, you know, and to know that we're backing MCs. Every band I've ever been in has backed MCs. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's like, what can we do? What can I do? What can I do to help Eli Fowler or Nac One make a name for themselves, you know, or Flo J or whoever I work with, you know, Highway's in his lane, and he's always had a manager, Big Daddy. He's always been pushing industry status, and so he's getting there. He's doing that. You know what I mean? Eli and them have always been in their own lane, independent hip hop, street shit, just boom, you know. And so, you know, for me as a partner to them, I'm like, all right, what can I do? Well, I can try to get Charlie Tuna and Rashawn Ahmad and Scared from Living Legends on a show together, and maybe I can get Eli and Nac to be part of that show, not as openers, but as part of the crew, and we all rock a show together. And now. Yeah, man. Now they've arrived. You know what I mean? And at least here, and they're getting put on bigger shows now that are coming through. Right? You got Nac One, who's going to be on the Devin the Dude show. You got Flo J is on the Afroman show
and Highway,
and then you have Eli Fowler's on the Mickey Avalon show.
That's right.
All the names that we just brought up just now are all opening for the bigger groups coming through, which makes me proud personally because those are my homies. And they're doing what worked for me. And I'm not saying whether they followed my lead or not. I just know that the frustration of trying to get a name, man, that's real. And so what can I do to help? And that's what I did to help. Is like, let's just keep having them show up to our shows. Let's just keep getting them on. And my bandmates are like, great, we love hip-hop. This is dope. So for Object Heavy, it's easy. You know, we have tracks that an MC can rock over every time, you know, so to be able to be in a position to create that space for MCs, and I'm not even an MC, like, all right.
That's dope.
You know, so that's what we should be doing for each other, you know.
That's collaboration in music around here that I think it's the kind of thing where the amount of art that's coming out of Humboldt County and the amount of artists, just hip-hop artists in Humboldt County, you really honestly have to be collaborating with people. You know what I mean? Like if you I think that, you know, that's what I did with, like I said, with my, with the HipHopHumboldt brand. I just kind of stayed in my own lane, you know what I mean? But now I'm trying to collaborate, you know what I mean? And that's what community is really all about in Humboldt County. Even outside of hip-hop and cannabis, the community aspect of Humboldt County is just something that, you know, if you've lived in Humboldt County, I've lived in Humboldt County, you know, we know that it's close-knit, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if anything ever hits the fan, man, you know, us up here in Humboldt, we're going to be all right, you know what I mean? We've got good things going on up here on so many different levels. Food growing, you know what I mean? Man. Access to things, it's so nice. You know, people trip over, you know, the access in the big city and all that stuff to, like, shopping and all that stuff, man. We're doing just fine out here, man. I'm really looking forward to what Object Heavy is doing next. That's, you know, like, and you were talking a little bit about that earlier. You know, I'm looking forward to that, you know. I'm looking forward to who you're going to be putting on next. I'm looking forward to what the Fantastik Fam is doing next. I'm looking forward to Dirty Rats' next things. You know, Just One is still out there. And, you know, I'm not trying to, like, you know, give any sneak peeks of what I'm hearing, but he's got a lot of content. He's a content genius. And that dude he's got some stuff on the way for Humboldt County. So
it's true.
You know,
he's been filming also, you know, he's a filmer, he's a producer, he makes beats. He's doing it. What's really cool when you mention, you know, it's a thing where the collaborative spirit, you know, and you know, I could already see your series growing. Right? You got Dirty Rats and there's you can do a whole series on each one of them alone. You know what I mean? You know, it's Fantastik Fam the same way. You know, not everyone's an MC. You know, you got his son who's a poet. You know, he's not even trying to mess with the music. You know what I mean? He's just, but they're all lyricists. You know, they all have their own. And then his son is exclusive, who's a beat maker. So you have, like, he's, you know, so you have all these camps, you know what I mean, who have different histories, have different ways to get to where they got to. You know, you got the Sohum, you got the Sub-Sav crew, you got the Dirty Rats crew, you got the Fantastik Fam, you got Highway and LCA and their whole crew, and they've all had different experiences in Humboldt. And then you have me and the band and all the shit we've done, the instrumental shit, the hip hop lounge, the Get Down crew, the acid jazz experience, which now is Object Heavy, which is much more of a hard hitting soul 1973 Cadillac shit, you know. But that's our way in Object Heavy to create what maybe the next MCs are going to sample, like you did back in the day. You know what I mean? So the music we're creating is really hip hop inspired also. You know what I mean? In the coolest way. You know,
Yes.
in our world, it's the coolest way. It's we're having fun with it. So
I love it.
I could see, you know, when you said having me back on something like that, to like, you know, I would love to be part of that, like helping build your series of the legacy of Humboldt hip hop. You know what I mean? And that is what is going to be important 10 years from now, 5 years from now, when freshmen come to Polytech and they've never been here before, and they go to a Fapple store to get their stuff because the seniors are wearing Fapple, right? That's how Fapple started. You know, kids in college are wearing it, and then every time a new kid would come through, a new generation or a new class would come through every semester or every year, they would be doing, you know, it's like, what are you doing? You want to wear what the locals are wearing, man?
That's right.
I want to be part of this shit. You know, and that over 20 years, now it's like, holy shit, that's actually happening for Fapple and on a kind of a national level. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what? I used to only know, I mean, if I saw you wearing a Fapple hat walking down the street and I didn't know you, I'd be like, you jacked that shit from my friend? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would have thought 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just remember starting to see like, oh, wait, I don't even know any of these people. I remember doing a show one time and there were like 7 of the same black Fapple hat, like the gray one you have, the black one with the white. Remember we just came out with it, you know, it was just like, we did Reggae on the River or something like that. And, you know, and I remember being at a show and there were like 6 dudes spread out and mine and Chris's logo was everywhere. In one room, we're like, oh no, this thing is starting to grow legs. So it's still like blows my mind that I'm sitting here still trying to come up on the bread, you know, still trying to figure out what my niche in this life is, what's my purpose. And I'm like, I think it's staring me in the face. I'm just trying to realize it and trying to manifest it in the best way possible. So, you know, because the whole point is to plant a tree that you're never going to see the shade of, that you're never going to get to sit under, you know what I mean? And that is that's an important characteristic to take with you, and I'm grateful for learning that at a young age, because it definitely helped me keep on the path. This shit isn't about me. Sure, yeah, I make selfish decisions because this shit isn't about me. There's a lyric for you.
That's a bar right there, for real. Man.
Straight up, man. Yeah, sure, I'm selfish, but it isn't about me. So it's about, you know, it's about the fact that I'm a lot older than these cats that we're talking about. And if we go in the way of life, I'll be the first to go. And you know what? What am I leaving behind? Because at the end of the day, fucking done. That's it. People are going to mourn you and they're going to miss you. But you know what? Life goes on and you're out. Once you're out, you're out. So what can you do to remain? What can you do to be part of something bigger than you? So I have chosen to jump off the corporate ladder, fuck school. I'm good. I'm a keyboardist. I have ideas. Humboldt found me, and so that's it. So my path has never really changed, and I've always been on this mission to like figure out what can we do that's going to better the world when we're gone. Because I got a lot of people with kids. We all got a lot of people with kids, because there's no other way around that shit.
Right. And that's going to be the next generation who we're leaving this for.
That's
you know
correct.
what I mean?
And when 10 years from now, when someone hears this conversation,
That's right.
we may not be here, man.
Yeah. But they'll know. The legacy will be there, and they'll have this to be able to see what happened. I know. I hope so, man.
Let's see. Here's to another 40 years, 30, 40 years of watching this thing unfold. That's what I talk to God in the spirit within about. It's like, come on. All right, I get it. I'm paying the dues. I'm down. I'm taking the struggle. I'm trying to heal myself of the affluenza, you know, having the opportunities I gave up because my brothers didn't. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So I think about that stuff when no one's around, you know, and I'm sharing it publicly, but that's how I feel about life.
That's right.
That's it, man.
Swizz, that's bars right there. I mean, I can't believe you ended this podcast dropping knowledge at that level for everybody, man. Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, you really got to listen to this episode and listen to what Swizz was saying, you know, because that's, you know, he's laying down the legacy of what has happened, and then leaving y'all with some real knowledge. So soak this in. I really want you to. And Swizz, thank you so much, man. I definitely, I got to get you back on for another few episodes. You know, this is like laying the neural like pathways down for me and for other people that are getting on, that are going to be getting on the legacy of hip hop in Humboldt County. And so, you know, as I do more interviews, you know what I mean, I think it's probably just going to spur more memories for you of what's been happening in Humboldt County. And so I'd love to continue to have you on again and again to just lay more and more of this, what you've done. You know, I would be so blessed. And I know that the county, anybody that's in the hip hop would be appreciative of it. And so thank you so much, Swizz, for joining me, man. I really appreciate your time today.
Me too. I'm excited to hear everyone else's version of the story so I can learn what happened at the same time, but that I wasn't involved in, you know what I mean? Because I'm only giving my version. So it's exciting for you. You know, I would imagine you're going to hear so many different people with the same story during the same timeline. So there's stuff that I could have missed or maybe got wrong a little bit. Like, I'm excited to learn from that, you know.
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
That's a huge thing. It's humbling, like going, shit, did I say the right thing? Am I getting this story straight? Like, am I just fucking nuts? You know what I mean?
Nah, man, I love it, dude. I think you're right too, and it's gonna paint such a crazy picture, man. I love it, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity to represent hip hop in Humboldt County like this.
Yeah, man.
You know?
You're necessary, man. Now, you know, so what's happened is that we've become the fuel and you're the vehicle.
Man.
So now I've been the vehicle for the music and the message to get it out there, and now I have an opportunity to be part of the fuel, to fuel you and arm you with some knowledge or at least some opinions and some things so you can create your version of what you get out of all this later. You know what I mean? When you recap the series or something, it's me like, you know, you'll know where to sift through or where I was off on this or he was off on she was off, or, you know, or this was important, right? You know, you'll be able to really dial it in, which will be important for all of us.
Man,
everyone else.
I respect you, Swizz. Thank you so much, man. Shout out to anybody listening, to the audience, to the artists. If you want to get on this podcast, holler at me. Let me know. We're going to get you interviewed. We're going to have a whole episode dedicated to you. Come back multiple times. It's about laying the legacy of hip-hop.